How to pull construction permits. This video is not going to bore you. You need this information. Permits can make or break you. The key is to dig in, lean in, and master the process right from the start. So let me go ahead and tell you a story. One time, I was an assistant superintendent, and I was about to go work on a cancer center as a part of a design build project, and I was stoked. Because we were responsible for the design and the construction, I got to go down to City Hall and research all the permits. I remember the project manager saying, we need somebody to go do this research. And thankfully, I was assigned to do it. So I was able to go down to the city offices with, and this was important, with one of our partners in the architectural firm who had some experience with this. And we went to every stinking counter that we could get a ticket for and asked the question, how do we do the pre-application meeting? How do we then submit for this? What about our site plan? All of the permits, all the way to the NESHAP permit, to the salvage permit, to the dust permit, to the SWIP permit, notice of terminations at the end. Everything was mapped out. In fact, funny story, because back in the day I used AutoCAD for pretty much everything. I don't anymore because I don't have it on my Mac computer. That's the only thing I don't like about my Mac computer. But I did it on AutoCAD, and I did a timeline for the overall project and then listed on the left all of the key permits. And then I linked them all together in what you would say is a precedence diagram or a pull plan. And then I also listed when do we have to renew them and when do we have to provide a notice of termination. And it was this 36 by 48 huge sheet that discussed the permitting all the way from the start to the end, and it's specifically custom tailored to our phase design in this design build contract delivery method. And so I remember it was not easy. It was a lot of research. It was uncomfortable talking to that many people. I got different information from different counters. I had to rely heavily on our design partner, the architect that helped me with this. It took me a while to map it out, but I will tell you that project finished early, achieved awards not only for safety but for excellence. We absolutely nailed it and created raving fan clients for the building owner. I mean, it was an amazing experience, and ever since that time, I've been just like on that kick. When it comes to permits, we are not behind the 8 ball. We are out ahead. We are grinding. We are digging in. We are owning this process. So I'm going to talk about some of the steps here that you can take to do this very same thing and own the permits to clear the way for your trades. So before I begin, I do want to say the process for submitting for permits and pulling permits is different from city to city, county to county, state to state, right? Government to government, like all throughout the world. It's all different. I remember, and I hope nobody from the city of Phoenix ever sees this, but I remember going through the City of Phoenix website and clicking on like 85 different web pages and being like, I'm more confused than I was before I started. So I do believe that you're going to have to do this research for your local authority having jurisdiction, and you're going to want to research the city, the county, state, and federal requirements. I know it's a lot. That's why you're probably going to have to assign somebody to dig into this. So let's go through the step from the very beginning. So step number 1, project planning. You are going to define basically, at least from a conceptual standpoint, what the project is going to be, where it's going to be, and what permits you need to pull generally. And this typically comes from a planning charrette or an initial meeting with the design build partners or the stakeholders inside your CM at risk delivery method or your IPD team. Whoever you're doing this with, you need to do some initial planning, know what you're building, what permits you're going to need. Second, you design your site survey and design. So that you will do a site survey. You will include the surveyors. You will make sure to do a topographic as-built. You will verify property corners, and you will check back to your basis of bearings and really understand the site from a civil perspective. You will also, from a civil standpoint, determine, oh, by the way, back to my story, I had a great civil design partner that helped me through all of the civil permits, the right-of-way permits, any permits that were inside our property line, any of the salvage permits, the initial site plans, the whole nine, the grading and drainage permit. We had a great civil designer. Not only will you want to go do the research, but you want to partner with a knowledgeable architect and civil designer. 3, check local regulations. You'll want to research local building codes and regulations and verify zoning and land use regulations. Also, like I said, go in and check the city and county websites for any information you can find. First of all, with the building department or your local city offices, schedule with the right representative what's called a pre-application meeting. And in this meeting, you're going to discuss the requirements for your local authority having jurisdiction, the requirements and the building and what permits will be required in order for not only your plans to be submitted and approved with a permit, but for everything to phase properly with any possible variances or entitlements. Then you will complete the permit application and submit it with the right information. You will gather all of your supporting documents like your plans and your specifications, engineering reports, and any other relevant data. And you will prepare to submit for the permit. Bring any of your supporting documents down to the local building department and pay any fees right then and there. Then it will go, as you already know, into a plan review where the building department will review your plans and specifications for compliance with local building codes and regulations. Corrections may be needed as you do this. Then if the corrections are made, the building department will issue a permit. So you'll go down, you'll obtain your permit set, obviously set up your area so that inspectors can come on site and sign them off and use the permit set of plans as you go and as you do your inspections. And post any of your permits up on the wall so everybody knows that you're ready to do work. It's not just the permit for your plans and specs. Again, I do have to say, you might have permits when it comes to archaeological finds, when it comes to salvage permits. You might need to phase your permits and do your grading and drainage first, then your foundation permit, then your superstructure, and so forth. You also need to make sure you have your SWIP, your dust permit. You need to have your NOI for any demolition that might have friable asbestos. There are a lot of other supporting permits around your main building permit that you must have posted on the wall. The best thing that you can do as you're building your project and you're calling for inspections, really take care of the inspectors. I'm not talking about bribing them, but take really good care of them, maintain that plan set, make sure that they are not tampered with, and that anything that's required, especially your green tag or your inspection sign-off, everything is in a nice, clean, and organized environment with the most accurate permits. They should come there not feeling like it's all haphazard and nasty and torn up and under a dusty desk where, oh, let me go find this with a whole bunch of other papers and coffee cups and things like that. They should come to a beautiful area and have confidence that you are using that permit set of plans and signing off appropriately as you go. You will want to use what we call a green tag in the US, that list of inspections where you sign off the different, you don't sign off, but your inspectors sign off those different disciplines and you meet your temporary certificate of occupancy or your certificate of occupancy requirements, and you get final sign-off and your final building inspection so you can occupy the building. And at the end, when you obtain that certificate of occupancy, you go ahead and archive and close out all of your permits. You submit your notice of termination for any of your ancillary permits and close everything out. The key here is organization and make sure that you haven't missed anything. And so if you go back to my advice to assign one person to go do the research with the proper design entities and you map it out in kind of like a pull plan, you will know all of the different permits that have to be closed out so you can demobilize, mob the owner into their building, and really close out that project properly. So here's my point as I close this out. If you're like, what? Great. I'm going to do the Jocko Willink thing and say good. Confused? Good. Opportunity to learn. The key here is even the process that I've given you is in its basic form. I remember the building where I was doing the permits, we had a lot of different nuances. We had to reroute utilities, open the permit, pull the permit, do the work, and close out certain civil activities. Before we could get the grading and drainage permit, we had to tie that to the reroute of the electrical infrastructure, which we had to do with one of the local bureaucracies. We had to go through 3 different government agencies to verify that there were no archaeological artifacts in the land that we were going to build this project on. I remember later on, it was very difficult to get the phase permitting for our phased design. I remember that then switching and designing a central plant instead of feeding it from the city infrastructure complicated our permitting processes. I remember the city had to grant at least 11 variances to their normal permitting process. I remember that the pre-application meeting required multiple iterations for the conceptual design. I mean, it was complex. So I'm giving you this list: project planning, site survey and design, check local regulations, schedule your pre-application meeting, complete the permit application, prepare supporting documents, submit the application, plan review, permit issuance, post the permits on site, perform the inspections, get your final inspection and certificate of occupancy, and perform project closeout. So that's the basic list. But that list, what I'm telling you is you must sequentially identify what that list is for you, because it will vary from location to location to location, and it will especially vary from building type to building type. The bottom line is, if you remember this, assign someone to it, make a good architect partner, have a good partnership with one of your civil designers, go to the city offices, dig in, map it out, really listen to your lead at the city offices, and really make sure that you listen in that pre-application meeting and monitor it throughout and be really prepared for your final closeout. You should be fine. Remember, the key to permits is dig in, own it, understand it, and win. And so I hope you really enjoy this. If you have any questions, just go down and comment and I will help you out. Remember, at Elevate, we help project teams with the pre-construction and management of their projects, and permits is included with that. So if you ever need help from a consulting, training, or project support standpoint, reach out to us. In the description below, I'm going to link you to a blog post on this very topic so that you can win when it comes to permitting and inspections. On we go.